My name is Verna Joseph. I went into Yazwood on the 14th of August 2009. Several months later, I was told about the Crossroads Women's Center from other women. I got in touch in December. I heard that some of the women who had been released from detention were speaking in the House of Parliament about what goes on in Yazwood. Some of us wrote statements for that meeting. The hunger strike started on the 5th of February. Women were getting very depressed about the things that were happening. A lot of women were being deported, mothers inside, away from the kids. Some of the women inside won the cases and still in there. Women were being left in detention for months without hearing anything from the Home Office. We would just not hearing nothing from the Home Office. They would just refuse your case, eventually, without looking into it. In December, this girl was dragged from the center naked and taken to the airport. We were very upset about that. A lot of us women wanted to get our point across because we felt like we were not being heard and were just forgotten. On the week before the hunger strike, 4 of us were sitting in the computer room discussing how things are getting harder and worse. We started the hunger strike, 2 of us from Bontin Wing and from Dove. We told the other women that anyone who wanted to join should come down to the meeting in the arts room. 20 women from different wings came. Everybody shared their own views about what was happening, and we started to work out our demands. We knew that most of the Chinese and Vietnamese women didn't speak English, and we were worried that they would not be left out. One of the women working in the servery translated to the other Chinese women to let them know what was going on. The Chinese and the Vietnamese women raised particular issues. For example, some of them had been in over a year. One of the women had been working and paying the tax in the UK, and they just took her and dropped her in detention. She was not even illegal. On the 5th of February, everybody refused to go to the canteen. We all just stayed in our rooms. The managers came up and down into people's rooms asking us why are we not eating. The guard said that they would discuss our complaints with us and even give us women some temporary admission forms. Over the weeks, there were more meetings of women on the wings. Some were in women's room, and women from Avocet went into the yard and had meetings. By Monday, the guards were getting very worried because all the food was just piling up because nobody would touch it. The manager told women that the Home Office wanted to see them in reception. At 11 a.m., we joined all the other women in the central area downstairs. When the manager said to Gladys to go down to reception, I told her not to go. I said if the Home Office wanted to see you, they would bring you upstairs and not see you in the reception. When he dropped her off, he then came back and told everyone that anyone who wants to see the Home Office, we go 2 by 2. We all followed along the corridor by the officers, and they locked us up in the corridor. At that time, it was terrible. We we were there for 7 hours. People were getting sick, having to empty their bowels and urinate right there on the floor. There were no air. They wouldn't give us any water. One of the women had an asthma attack. The guards did nothing. They just stood outside laughing. Some of the women opened the window to get air and then climbed out into the yards. The guards rushed them with the shield and beat one of the women, Denise McMill. The women outside were left in the cold for several hours. When the press helicopter flew over, the women waved and the guards wrestled them to the ground. Crystal and the others put us in touch with the press and we spoke to the BBC. One of the women had a serious cut and they didn't even let the nurse come in to help her. We called the ambulance and the police, but they turned them away. I get flashbacks from the time I was kidnapped in St. Lucia. So I've suffered because I could see all those things right before my eyes. The government tried to say that this never happened. They repeatedly that we all are treated with dignity and respect. They are lying. And the proof could be found. There are cameras everywhere. We heard about John McDonnell, MP, calling for an inquiry. Another MP visited me and said he would bring it to the House of Commons and said that he wanted to call for an inquiry into what happened. They let us out of the corridor at 7:30 p.m. and was talking to the gym. They had a nurse and there were juice and sandwiches. I didn't take anything. The next day, we were still on the hunger strike. We heard that some girls have been taken into prison and called ringleaders, including Gladys. Most of the girls stayed on the hunger strike for 2 weeks. For the first week, absolutely everyone was in their rooms. About 10 of us I know personally always kept and stayed on the hunger strike for the whole 6 weeks. In the following weeks, in the weeks that follow, we had particular routines. We sent out emails and kept in touch with the support from the outside. Every day we were on the phone with Crystal from the Black Women's Rape Action Project to let them know what was happening. We got messages from people all over the world, America, Canada, Spain. It was fantastic to know that people out there cared. People would tell us that they didn't know what was happening to mothers, children in this detention. Some people in Manchester even went on hunger strike in support. We worked on our legal cases and those of us that spoke English helped other women. Rachel and Mommy in particular would put in judicial reviews for other women. We did interviews with the press. I was on the front page of the Bedford paper after I saw them with my files going up to the Home Office. We also went on the strike from work. I work in the servery. I get £1.50 a session. We stopped working, which meant that we had no money. The Women's Center helped us with postal orders. The guards followed us around all the time. We had to be careful. If we wanted to fax something to the crossroads, we had to use another name, or they wouldn't let us let it through. Not even our legal papers. If we wanted to print something from the computer, we'll have to hide it under something else, like if we print in a prayer. There were a lot of threats from the guards to stop the hunger strike. And there were
There was corruption.
There was corruption by the guards who used some people against the rest of us. One girl went on the telly and said that the officers was very nice and some women forced her not to eat. Then shortly afterwards, she was released without having bail. With the help of the BW rep and the center, some of us started to get movements into our legal cases after months when nothing wasn't happening. They found us lawyers and helped us pull out the important points in our cases. My case was hard. I was convicted and sentenced into 9 years in prison for possession of drugs. I was forced to bring drugs into this country by a gang which threatened to kill me and my children. They kidnapped my daughter. I reported it to the police, but the police did nothing to protect me from being kidnapped, raped, and tortured. After this gang said that I had to carry drugs, I had no choice. When I was taken to court in England, the police came from St. Lucia to testify on my behalf, but I was still sentenced to all those years. A lot of women in prison in England have been forced to carry drugs. Where there are drugs and guns, there are no protection for women and children. Others do it because of poverty. If you have kids to feed and have no money, then there is a lot of people who take advantage of that. I have 8 children which I left behind in St. Lucia. I miss them a lot. I wish that I could be united with them. I was treated like a criminal, but I'm a victim. When you are labeled as a criminal, no one wants to hear you. What you have to say, you are just being forgotten by people. It was my sister-in-law who kept me going in prison. From prison, I was taken to Yarl facing deportation back to St. Lucia. I got a new solicitor. I won my appeal against deportation, but the Home Office still appealed against the decision. And I was kept inside for months more. I had applied for bail twice and it been rejected. But after the hunger strike, I applied again in front of the same judge. This time it was better prepared by me and brought all my medical files and explained to the judge what I have been through. The judge apologized and let me out. The other women cases started to move as well. Now 15 of us are out. What the hunger strike did was to bring out me and what was troubling me. It helped me speak out. Everybody was glad to be able to stand up. Able to stand up for themselves and stand up from the guards and the government. We got fantastic support, and now we all feel like we can talk for ourselves and not let others walk over us. I'm speaking out for the other women because I know what goes on behind those closed doors. Because I know what we can achieve if we struggle together. Thank you.